and this is episode 41 of the Lifestyle Entrepreneur Podcast. And my next guest is Kris Ducker, where we're going to talk about how to outsource yourself and become an outsource pro, get rid of superhero syndrome, along with being able to create virtual freedom for your business. Welcome to the Lifestyle Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Kris Gilbertson, and I'm an author, speaker, and a coach to teaching you how to launch your own successful podcast. And the reason I designed this show is to bring you the top lifestyle entrepreneur experts from all over the world for them to share their key strategies that they've used to launch their own businesses and allow them to live life on their own terms. So tune in every Friday for new episodes and come on over and join the Lifestyle Entrepreneur community at www.lifestyleacademy.com. There you're going to receive VIP training from specific guests from the podcast, along with being able to watch all of the interviews. And I'll also be making it really easy for you to implement these strategies that you're hearing by sending you what I like to call the Lifestyle Cliff Notes on the best of the best lessons learned on the podcast. So let's get started. And this week's loyal listener shout out goes over to our friends over the pond over in the UK. And this one goes out to Dave D. Dude UK. And he says, one of the best in iTunes, 5 stars. If you have or thinking about having an online business, you need to subscribe to this podcast. I have subscribed to dozens of pods over the years, and this one is the best in this particular area. I learned so much right from episode 1, and the gold just keeps on coming. Informative, detailed, professionally produced, and has a supportive website where you can get the pod notes. If you want a lifestyle business, you need to listen to this podcast. Cannot recommend highly enough. DJ. Well, thank you so much, Dave. I truly appreciate it. And I appreciate your email. One of the best things about launching a podcast that all of my colleagues and myself and my clients praise is the ability to truly connect. And so what I truly love is getting emails and tweets from all of you, letting me know what you like about the show and how this is helping you in your business. And my favorite is when you share what you're looking for help in your business. That helps me really pick the right guest for you to really help you in your business, propel it forward. And we've got some really incredible guest lineup coming down the pipe. But today I'm really excited about Kris's interview. And the reason I'm so excited about this is because this is one of the biggest skill sets that you can learn to really quantum leap your business. This is where most entrepreneurs hold themselves back, scaling either to multiple 6 figures or sometimes even into multiple 7 figures, because they don't have the systematizing and the outsourcing in place to really take their business to the next level. So you're going to get a ton of nuggets from this. I learned a ton myself, and what I love about Kris is he makes it really, really simple. And we've got some really cool book giveaways for his book as well. So what I want you to do, if you're moved by this interview from Kris Ducker, tweet us at Kris Gilbertson and then tweet at Kris Ducker, and then let him know why he should pick you to send you his book for free. And we're going to go into more about that all on the show, but I wanted to let you know right up front how you could actually get access to his book and really start to take this and implement it. That's obviously this whole show is about taking the information, turning right back around and implementing it in your business for success. Because the more action you take, the more results you get. So I think you're going to love it. And then again, it's just tweet us at Kris Gilbertson and then at Kris Ducker and let us know why Kris should choose you to send him his book. So let's get at it. Welcome back, everyone. I am so fired up and excited for our guest today because he is the legend when it comes to teaching you how to create virtual freedom for you and your business and your family and your lifestyle. So my guest today is Kris Ducker, and he joins us from the Philippines and the wonderful island right now, and taking his time out of his busy schedule to really talk to us about how to set up your business for success and systematize it properly. So Kris is a serial entrepreneur. He's actually a virtual staffing expert and built a huge virtual staffing team. He's a blogger, podcaster, and author, and he helps entrepreneurs catapult their business into the 21st century, utilizing what he calls the new business style of marketing. So Kris, welcome. I'm so excited to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, and all the better for seeing your lovely face on the cam as well today.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, it was such a pleasure meeting you just a couple months ago, and I'm just so excited for what we're going to talk about today because I know for myself included, this has been an area that I've struggled with to really start to scale my business. So what I want you to talk about is just really tell us your story of how you got started and then really how you leveraged all of this support system that you've set up and how you've structured it.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I'll fast forward a little bit because, as with most entrepreneurs, the story is quite long-winded. But basically, back in 2006, I started my first real company. I'd flirted with entrepreneurship before that and sort of helped people out. I did some high-level consulting and stuff like that. But 2006, started the company, and by the end of 2009, we had about 100 and something odd, people working for us. But I hit burnout, and it was the first time in my life that I've done it. It's actually happened once more since then, but I learned by it, believe me. So I hit burnout, and ultimately, I just hit a brick wall. I was no good to anything, to anyone for anything. And late 2009, actually it was December 26, 27, 28, me and my wife, we had a little staycation. We checked into the Shangri-La Resort, which is about a 45-minute drive away from where we live here in Cebu. And there was no laptops involved, no devices or anything like that. We left the little one with grandma and granddad, and we head down to the beach just to sort of switch off and talk about how we were going to continue to run the business going forward, because it had become very, very, very apparent. And this is something that, I didn't really sort of understand it at the time, but after and talking with all of these other entrepreneurs I've had the opportunity to meet in the last 4 years of being active online, I didn't realize what was going on really. And, I didn't realize I was burning out. And what was really happening was that I had gone from running my business to my business running me. And once I realized that, I could then start to take the actions, some of them slightly larger than others, but I could then start taking the actions to slowly remove myself from the business. And what I did is I set a goal going into 2010 that by the end of the year, I was going to be a full-time virtual CEO, meaning I didn't have to go to the office to run the business, plain and simple. And achieve the goal, and started a blog and a podcast in the process. Now, up until this point, you've got to understand, I'd never written a blog post. I'd never listened to a podcast. I'd never tweeted. I was like the consummate, like, complete brick and mortar old school business guy. And then I kind of threw myself into the online world. I'm so glad I did it, because life has become so much better since.
Amazing. So I love what you talk about there, though, from going from brick and mortar mindset into this virtual world, because I work with a lot of clients that have created incredible businesses offline. But when they get into this space, it's kind of like, whoa, I got to start all over. How do I do this? How does this work? So let's kind of rewind a little bit and talk about the mindset piece of what did you have to go through to transition from that mindset into having a more lifestyle-based, entrepreneur-based business?
Well, the first thing was just realizing that I was caught up, plain and simple, and that I was really, at the end of the day, no good in my current state. And entrepreneurs, I often say we're a bloody strange lot. I mean, we have issues, man, and and so I sat down and I realized, and I didn't know this at the time, like I said, but I was suffering from the superhero syndrome that I talk about in the book. And, I believe that, I could do everything myself. If there was a way to save money and do it myself, I'd do it. If I could teach myself how to do something, regardless of what it was, I would do that. Like, I tried to design my first blog. Who does that? A mad person does that, So, AKA an entrepreneur, right? And really, I got to the point where I realized the word recharge only actually applied to my damn cell phone. That was it. And so what I did is I really just kind of, I broke down that 1 year goal into mini goals or monthly goals. And then I blogged about those goals on a monthly basis. And by the third or fourth month, I'd had a couple of thousand subscribers. And I was like, oh, okay, like, people like this. This is good. And, 1 month it was taking myself out of email hell. okay, which so many entrepreneurs are suffering from. That was basically the whole of January. I said, this is it. I was sitting in Outlook for about 6 to 7 hours a day at that point. I was doing 16-hour days, 6 days a week. And it's now to the point where I'm so blessed and very, very lucky that I'm now only working 4 days a week. I don't do Fridays. I have a 3-day weekend, and I work maybe 7 or 8 hours a day now. So I'm still a hardworking guy, but I'm just a little bit smarter in the way that I do it. So yeah, I removed myself from the email. I removed myself from recruitment. I removed myself from training, which I really loved, and I believed because of my superhero syndrome that I was the best in the world at training. So wrong. Just write a training manual, Kris, and get someone else to do it for you. You know what I mean? And so, all these things I did throughout the course of the year, which, that collated together allowed me to be able to remove myself.
Back up. So Kris's new book that's coming out is called Virtual Freedom. And it is really, I like to call it a play-by-play book on how to actually remove yourself from your business. I think it's brilliant. So I want to back up because about the superhero, what you talk about. So you describe a dichotomy of powers that result from superhero syndrome. So I want you to talk about what superhero syndrome is more in depth, and then how our entrepreneurial path and journey is shaped by that.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's two things here, first and foremost, right? And number one is that we do honestly believe that, we have this misconception as business owners, particularly as we start our businesses, that we need to do everything ourselves because of whatever reason. Maybe because we believe we're better than anybody else out there, or because we don't have the money to hire other people, or whatever the case may be. So that's the first thing, is that misconception that we have to do it all ourselves. And the second thing is our quite obvious inability to just let go of just stuff. It's a very technical word right there, but just let go of things. Let go of managing your calendar, your schedule. Let someone else do it. Let go of filtering through your 200 emails every day. Let someone else do it. And then when you start work in the morning, you've only got 35 emails to go through and not 200 plus, right? Just let go of updating your social media channels. Just interact on social media. Don't be the one to search for all the photos and put them all up there and schedule all your tweets and do all that stuff. Get someone else to do that. Let go of just being a micromanaging nightmare. And that was, that is what superhero syndrome is. We have that misconception that we have to do everything ourselves, and then we double all of that up with our inability to understand the power behind just letting go and letting somebody else handle that stuff for us.
One of the biggest ones right there of letting go and just letting it realize that you don't have to do all of that and it's still going to get done. And more often than not, it gets done better than any of us could do all by ourselves. So I think that's brilliant. So let's talk about how to hire. Let's talk about how to find and hire the right staff the first time around.
Okay. Well, before you can do that, and I want to go back a little bit, before you can, think about finding people and hiring people, you've got to understand what you're hiring for. All right. So there's two different types of outsourcing that's available to small business owners in today's market. The first one is task or project-based outsourcing, and the second is team building-based outsourcing. So I want to break them down because it's really important for people to understand the difference. When you talk about a task or a project-based outsourcing, it means literally that. It's a one-off task or a one-off project. In other words, a new logo to be designed, or some transcription work to be done and turned into an ebook, or maybe you're going to get a developer to put together a new landing page for you, or some videos edited for an online course that you might be launching, or something along those lines, right? So that's a one-off project. Some of those projects are slightly more in depth than others, but once they're done, they're done. You move on. That's it. So that's task or project-based outsourcing. The second type of outsourcing, like I said, is the team building. Now, this is where you've got to really start thinking about growth. And I believe that as a business owner, the moment I stop thinking about growing my businesses, I might as well just quit. Plain simple. I mean, if you'd have asked me, 7, 8 years ago when I started this company, which now has 3 subsidiaries underneath it, that I would be at almost 300 employees, like I would have said, no, you're crazy. You're mental. What's wrong with you, sort of thing, right? But now I realize that I mean, as long as I'm happy with that almost 300 count, then everything's cool. But if I wasn't happy with that, I would still be pushing hard every single day. Growth has got to be there in your forefront of your mind all the time. And you can't grow a business, regardless of whether it's a physical one, an online one, virtual one, whatever. You can't grow a business without help, without great team members around you. So this is what we talk about when we say, the team building outsourcing is there. And what that really means bringing people onto your company full time. And I mean literally full time, 40 hours a week. And so once you realize the type of outsourcing that you want to do, you can then take it to the next level and start figuring out the type of tasks or roles that you have to actually hire for. And that's the secret. That's the big secret of trying to get this thing right, right out of the gate, is that you've got to hire for the role and not for the task, unless you're just outsourcing a task. If you're hiring for a team, then you hire for the role. And so, there's one exercise that I go into in the book, which is my 3 lists to freedom exercise. And I did this on December 26, 27, 28 in 2009. And I didn't realize at the time that I was creating this exercise, that here I am 4.5 odd years later, I've now got literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people to do either online or live in person at presentations and stuff like that. So if it's okay, can I break it down for your viewers and listeners?
This is brilliant. That was my next question. So,
okay. So, because this is a game changer, baby. This is what it's all about. This is where it gets real right here. Okay. So what you do is you get a piece of paper and you draw 2 lines down it. You can use an iPad. All right. If you were born, after 1980, you can use an iPad if you want. But if you're like me, you like good old-fashioned pen and paper. So you get a piece of paper, a couple of lines down it, creating 3 columns. Okay? And in those columns, you're going to create 3 separate lists. The first list is a list of all the things that you just hate doing. All right? All the tasks every day that crop up, and you know what I'm talking about. They crop up over and over and over again that you just hate. You hate doing these tasks. Like you would rather, throw yourself. No, I'm not going to get graphic, but you would rather just vomit in your mouth and swallow. I said I wasn't going to get graphic, but there you go. There's a graphic.
Although we all can relate to it. So yes, those are those tasks.
So yeah, you do. I mean, these are the kind of tasks you just procrastinate, right? All day long. And then right at the end of the day, you rush them real quick. And a lot of the time you screw it up in the process, right? So that's your first list, a list of all the things that you just don't like doing. The second list is a list of things that you can't do. Now, this is where superhero syndrome comes into play. We're going to talk about superhero syndrome a lot because it crops up over and over and over again, right? So this is where that comes into play because we believe in our minds, in our warped entrepreneurial mindsets, that we can do all this stuff ourselves and therefore, well, I can do everything. No, you can't do everything. Like I tried to design my first blog. This is how warped I was. I purchased a premium blog theme at $79.99 and then decided that I was going to try and teach myself PHP and HTML and CSS and customize the thing. There was nothing wrong with it. I had no idea what I was doing. It took me 4 days to get it even remotely close to what I wanted it to look like. And then I still wasn't happy, so I outsourced the rest of it for $150. What am I doing, right? So second list, a list of all the things that you can't do, that someone else out there could do better than you. And then finally, the third list, and this is by far the most enjoyable, but also the most stressful one to put together. It really needs you to really sit down and think about it, is a list of all the things that as a business owner, you believe you shouldn't be doing. Okay, this is where the thought process comes into play because these are tasks that you might like doing. These are tasks that you actually might be really, really good at doing. But the question you have to ask yourself again is, as the business owner, should I actually be doing them? Because, your time should be spent on more high-level stuff like strategizing for growth or, putting together new products or services or spending, time with your 20% top clientele, traveling to conferences to, build new relationships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So once you put all of those lists together, you really do have a blueprint. You've got a roadmap, so to speak, of the type of tasks and roles that you need to hire for. And at that point, you can start hiring your virtual team. That was a really long-winded answer, but I hope it was all right.
No, it's brilliant because that's exactly what they need to do and to be able to do that. So I do want to take it one step further, though. So I want to talk about what about those tasks that people aren't quite sure about if they should outsource or they shouldn't based on where their talent and what their business is. So more that line of like, is this a needle mover for me taking my business to the next realm of things I really do have to do myself? Or, you know, it's kind of like that gray area where I think a lot of people struggle with, because that was my big mind shift last year for myself on where it was Kris tasks really needed to do it, or I really could just outsource it to have it done.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. And I think that, you know, it's a personal preference type thing. And, everything that's in the book and everything I talk about, it's all down to you at the end of the day as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, right? You know, if you're not comfortable letting go of one particular task for whatever reason, then you're not going to do it. It's as simple as that. So I think it's a personal preference thing. But I mean, I have found more often than not, both in my own personal experience and with the people that I work with as, you know, either coaching clients or just my blog readers and podcast listeners, I have found 9 times out of 10 that if they're in that kind of on the fence mindset about a particular task and they try it, it's usually not as bad as they think it's going to be. And because of that, it allows them to free up more time in that particular task. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. I was talking with somebody at New Media Expo in Vegas at the beginning of this year, and I was chatting to them about just blogging in general. And then they turned around and they said to me, "But you're the VA guy, right? Like, you're all about virtual assistants and everything." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I do." And so he said to me, "So could a VA do all of my blog post kind of drafting and publishing for me?" I said, "Well, they can't write for you. The content's got to come from you. Like, that's your brand, right? People want to hear what you've got to say. But pretty much everything else they can do." And he said, "Like what?" So, and I love that question. So I was like, "Oh, you just open up the floodgates, baby." You know what I mean? So I said, "Well, I'll tell you how I work with one of my VAs who handles all my blog stuff." And so I just went through a list of one particular task, which is getting a blog post ready to go live. So I write my blog posts. I'm a little old school still, so I still use Word, right? So it's ridiculous. Once I've written, I should really get online. I mean, you know, everything I talk about is like productivity and all that sort of stuff. Use online tools, they're the best things. But there's something about Word, I don't know. So I open up Word, I write out my blog post, and then I dump it into Dropbox. My VA picks it up. This is the exact process, by the way. So this is like a live swipe file here. Anyone can use this as blogging, right? And you can even use this even for podcast show notes and all that sort of stuff as well. So I dump it in the Dropbox. My VA will download it. Once she's downloaded it, she copies and pastes the text into a WordPress post draft. All right. She'll do what she needs to do to take care of all of that, lay it all out properly. The titles, the subtitles, the bolding, the italics, the linking. She'll embed some videos. She'll embed the podcast episode. She'll embed images. She'll get it all ready. The SEO, meta tags, titles, all that BS that I'm way too busy and important to even think about doing. What am I doing this stuff for? Right. And then she's going to get it all ready, hit the save draft button, and email me and let me know that it's ready to go. I will pop in, hit the preview button, see how it looks, make any tiny little tweaks that I have to, and then either schedule it or publish it right there and then myself. How long do you think that task takes on average? I've timed it on literally 8 or 9 occasions, and it's an average of around 45 minutes per blog post. 45 minutes. How much do you value your time, Kris? When I do consulting, I charge $750 an hour. That's what my time's worth. And I'm not going to waste the equivalent of $500 doing that every time I want to post a blog post. So, you know, that's just one very clear example of what you can use, particularly a general virtual assistant for. The GVA role is what it's all about. And I mean, by the way, you can hire a general VA here in the Philippines for $500 a month full time. So after 1 hour's work, you're making money as far as I'm concern, you know.
Yeah, it's so amazing, and they love working with us and how they can help us and what they do and just their skill sets. It really is an amazing model. So because I know you run your own team that way, but let's talk about where people can go out and find the right VAs, because there is a process to doing that to make sure it's done right, and I know you've really mastered that. So I want you to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of different places online where you can find VAs, right? But really, in terms of, getting your feet wet and just, kind of dipping your toe in the water kind of thing, sites like, Elance or Odesk or Freelancer, these kind of job posting websites are perfect for you to start, because they don't require massive upfront investment. You can outsource a handful of tasks as and when you need them done to get the feel of just kind of working with somebody virtually in the first place. And it just enables you to really get a really clear understanding in terms of how to be able to delegate tasks, how to maybe, go over a little bit of training with people that, how you want things done and that sort of type of stuff as well. So those sites are the perfect kind of places to start your outsourcing journey, whether it be for tasks, and every now and then you might be able to find a diamond in the rough that's good for a team member as well. They're not ideal for finding team members, which is exactly the reason why I started Virtual Staff Finder, but there are a few people every now and then that will pop up that are happy to leave that freelancing lifestyle to one side and work full time for you. But those job posting sites, they're really all about, the freelancing mentality. And a lot of those people, they don't want to work for one person. They want to work for a number of different people at one time for whatever reason. Maybe it's the flexibility, or they make more money that way, or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, so you've got that way to be able to sort of, get going. And then, believe it or not, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Craigslist is a really, really good source of finding team members locally. I wouldn't suggest you use this website to find people overseas, another reason why I started Virtual Staff Finder. But I believe that if you're looking to keep your outsourcing a little closer to home, Craigslist is really, really good, because the way they break it up locally, right, it's just great. And not only that, but, you can find interns on there that will do this stuff for practically nothing for you, just for the learning experience. Sure, they might not be around forever, or maybe they'll have to go from an unpaid intern to a paid employee in the future. But you can find quite a few people on Craigslist. I've when I'm in the United States, I'm usually there for usually like 3 or 4 weeks at a time or something, like bounce around a bit, speaking and all that sort of stuff. And what I tend to do is I tend to pop on the Craigslist and sort of find people in cities where I might need someone just to run around a little bit for me and take care of certain things. And I always end up banging them a few bucks at the end of the day or the end of the week or whatever. And it's Craigslist is cool, trust me, but it's not necessarily perfect for that kind of offshore outsourcing.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I found amazing gems on Craigslist for locally, like you talked about, for videographers or anybody. And internships has been a really big thing that has worked really well too. And I've brought them on full time because they're so loyal and they're excited to really be in the project. So I think that's great. So let's talk about Virtual Staff Finder though, how your system works, how people actually use it, and what's the right way to go about it. Because just because we're able to outsource and it's a lot less expensive than what we're doing here in the United States, we still want to make sure we're doing a right process. So I want you to kind of explain that a little bit for people.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no need to utilize a service like Virtual Staff Finder if you're happy to go through all the work that is attached to it yourself. And a lot of people are not in the position to do it, particularly when they get when they're just starting out, the bootstrapping and that sort of type of thing. But the way the Virtual Staff Finder works is basically you sign up. It's a one-time fee of $395, one-time fee. You sign up, and it's a recruitment service at the end of the day. We're here in the Philippines. We've been here for years and years and years. We know the place better than anybody, obviously. And we will get you to basically put together a solid job description, shaping out exactly what you want from this particular team member. And we will then go ahead and go through our databases, contact all the VAs, and we've got thousands and thousands on our database. Go through our database, contact everybody, do interviews. If we feel that people are good fits, we'll get them to run through online tests, IQ tests, personality tests. We'll do background checks on them. We'll get references from their past employers. And then we'll present the 3 top candidates that we feel best suit your needs You'll interview them via Skype, and you hire the one you like the most. It's that simple. What it is really, it's bridging a gap, okay? And it's about saving time, because I believe that as an entrepreneur, time is our most valuable commodity, right? A lot of people probably heard me say that before. I'm a big believer in that. Money will come and go, all right? It just is what it is. But your time, once you've invested that time, it's gone forever. So you got to invest it wisely. And to go through 100 applications and backwards and forwards and all this stuff that you need to do on these job posting sites takes hours and hours and hours of work. So if you can afford the one-time fee, for me, it's an utter no-brainer. And it also happens to be an utter no-brainer for almost 100 entrepreneurs every single month now that are signing up for the service. Yeah.
And I really didn't realize, because I had, before I became an entrepreneur, I've been managing a lot of teams, a lot of sales teams. So I had people that were already doing a lot of that for me. So I never really had the taste of it when I was actually in the corporate world. So when I started my own business, you don't realize how much time goes into finding the talent. So, I mean, literally for $400, it really is a no-brainer. So it's phenomenal what you set up there. So let's talk about the next level then of, so you start to build your team. So how can you really start to scale and really take your team to the next level? I want you to talk about team building and kind of the constructs of how you've been able to build, I mean, really an empire with 300 employees, and how people can do that if they're looking to go that level.
Yeah, I mean, we keep it in perspective, okay? So, I have 3 different companies that have all those employees spread across, but I also have, I think I'm up to around 9 virtual assistants myself personally now for the stuff that I do mostly online, to be honest with you. So, I mean, I really do practice what I preach, right? So, I mean, when you talk about building a team, you've got to have a base, okay? And a base in regards to a virtual team is your general VA. It's your GVA. This is the type of person, like I said, who can do things like the blog post drafting for you. They can manage your calendar. They can update, your appointments. They can do online research. They can, social media, all this stuff. They're your regular Gal Friday is what they are. And they are worth their weight in gold. They are a lifesaver. They're not just a time saver, a lifesaver. And I believe that every entrepreneur on the planet, regardless of whether you're online or offline, I believe every single entrepreneur on the planet should have. I'm on a mission, okay? I want everyone to hire a GVA. I don't care if you do it through my company or not. Just get some help and bring a little calm to the entrepreneurial storm, please, right? So the GVA, though, is such an important role because everything else in that team can then be built around that GVA. So let's say you start with your GVA. Then you might want to get a full-time web developer on board. Then maybe a full-time graphic designer on board. Then maybe an AV VA for your audio and visual needs. Because, I mean, as we know, podcasting, video, huge business nowadays. I mean, look at us right now, right? So, but here's the problem. And this is where that team building mentality has to come into play. It's great. You're a super savvy entrepreneur. Everything's going well. You're growing your virtual team. But you know what's happening now? You're just a manager. You've got all these people working for you, and instead of running your business, you're now running a team. You've become a manager of people, not a manager of business. So what you need to do at this point is promote that GVA into a project manager role, work directly with that one person, and let them manage the rest of the team for you. Game changer all over again.
I love that. And it's so powerful. And finding the right person for that is so important to be able to manage that and take that, because it is a certain breed to be able to do that. But yes, I see that so many times. I saw that with myself and then a lot with my clients too, where you just become that manager of this big tree, and it's like, oh, you get up and it's a job is what you've created. So right. I think that's brilliant. So what are some other tips that you can share just from your experience, like the things not to do when you're looking to hire someone on your team?
How much time have you got?
Right? Okay, the top 5 tips.
I wrote the damn book here, all right? This is it. That was a nice little plug.
Right there.
No, I mean, look, there's a whole ton of stuff, obviously, that I talk about in the book in terms of the right and the wrong way of doing things. But there's a few things that stick out. First and foremost is having the misconception that one person can do everything for you. Okay, I call this the super VA myth. And it's complete BS. It doesn't exist. I think if I had $100 for every time someone has sent me an email that goes, I want someone to do my web design and write my blog post and edit my podcast and handle all my social media and pick up my dry cleaning and bring me coffee. And, I mean, seriously, if I had $100 for every time I got an email like that, I wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't be talking to anyone. I'd be on Necker Island hanging out with Richard Branson. That's what I'd be doing with the turtles, right? So that's what I'd be doing right there. But the bottom line is that, that super VA myth is brutal. It's the biggest mistake that people make going into this whole outsourcing game, is that they think that one person can do everything for them, and it just doesn't exist. Think about it logically. When you're building a house, you hire a head contractor. That guy doesn't do the plumbing, the electrics, the plastering, the painting, the roofing. He hires other contractors to come in and do all that because that's what they specialize in. Exactly the same deal with VAs. So that's the first thing, is believing that the super VA, exists. It's just, you're crazy for thinking that. The other thing is believing that even when you do hire the right person for the right role, because we are hiring for the role, not the task, even when you do that, assuming that they know everything they need to know to get the job done your way. Because here's the thing. I told you, we're weirdos. We're strange people. We like things done in very, very different ways, right? Very different ways.
And yesterday.
Right, yeah. I had an email one time from a client. This was a few years back, because you'll understand why in terms of the content. He said to me, I asked my VA to put together a list of Hannah Montana gifts for my teenage daughter's Christmas present, or whatever it was, and this is what she sent me back. So I opened up the list, and there's a list of the products, there's a price, and I'm thinking, well, what's wrong with that list? It looks fine to me. It's fine. I mean, a few pretty little colors, there's purple and pink and stuff like that. It's Hannah Montana, the VA and all that sort of stuff. And then, so I get back to him and I say, well, what's wrong with it? There's a list and there's the price. I mean, what more did you want? Well, I wanted a link to it on Amazon, and I wanted to know exactly how long it was going to take. And, I wanted her to find, the best, cheapest place to be able to buy this stuff. And what's with the pink and the purple? And why isn't she using Times Roman size 12? And I was like, what is this guy high right now? Like, what is going on? And so I got back to him and I just said very simply, did you tell your VA all of this? And he said, well, no, I just assumed that she would. So you made an assumption. So this is the second thing. And there's three main points here. The second thing is assuming that your VA is perfect for you out of the box. You've got to spend some time with your VA, letting them know how you want things done. If you want Times Roman, size 12 used in all of your correspondence, and tell them that, and they'll do it. They're not going to ignore you. But, if they are used to using Arial 10, then that's what they're going to do. You know what I mean? So that's the second thing, is just assuming that your VA is going to be perfect for you out of the box. And lastly, the virtual vulture. The virtual vulture. I don't get this. Hanging off the shoulder of your VA, watching their every move online, using these bloody, screenshot softwares and all this sort of stuff. Number one, I tell you right now, pet hate of every VA I've ever met in my entire life, and I've met thousands of them. The pet hate, number one, don't like being spied on with those sort of softwares and stuff like that. But here's the thing, and this is the biggest thing for me. Why are you doing it? Why are you doing that? This completely defeats the entire deal of outsourcing by actually, hanging off your VA shoulder like that virtual vulture. It defeats the object of the entire game. Why are you doing that? You did it so that you get more time in your day, and here you are policing a virtual employee. Forget about it. You might as well just do the work yourself, as far as I'm concerned. So they're the big three, the big three don't do this kind of list.
And yeah, it's so funny how we are, and we have to realize as entrepreneurs, we all have quirkiness, things that we have to let go of, like you would say. And that's what you have to let go to grow. You really, really do. And to take your business to the next level. So this has been absolutely phenomenal. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about the book and how it can help people, or anything else about, really setting yourself up to create virtual freedom in your business?
No, I mean, I guess what I can say is that, this is it. Like, this is your essential field guide. It all came out, actually. I just want to bring this point up, is that about 3 years ago, I was contacted by a publisher to write a book like this. And I was too busy building businesses and doing what I was doing, particularly with my speaking career. It was really taken off a few years ago, and I'm very blessed to even have it. Who wants to listen to me talk live on stage? But for some reason, people are quite happy to hire me to do that stuff. So I said no to it at that time. And then someone contacted me at the end of 2012 in December and said, we want to do a book with you. And it kind of sparked my interest a little bit more. So I had a chat with a friend of mine who I know knows a lot of literary agents and stuff like that. Got an agent. We put a proposal together, and the book was pitched to, I believe, 16 publishers, and we had 4 offers on it, which was great. And this leads me on to the 4-Hour Workweek, which got turned down 26 times before it was picked up, but not that particularly. But in the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss wrote a great book, by the way. I mean, a complete game-changing book for entrepreneurs all around the world. But he literally just whet people's appetite with the whole outsourcing thing. He said, outsourcing is great, and this is what you can get out of outsourcing, but he didn't tell you how to do it. And the reason why I signed with the publishers that I signed with, and by the way, it wasn't the largest advance that I was offered. I turned down a bigger offer to go with these guys. But the reason why I went with my publishers on Virtual Freedom was because within 5 minutes of being on the phone, the owner of the company turned around and said to me, I see this book like the outsourcing section of the 4-Hour Workweek on steroids. And I was like, now we're talking, baby. Now you're feeling me. Now we're doing it, right? And so I've put everything into Virtual Freedom. It is a step-by-step. It'll walk you through. It's not going to guarantee you success every single step of the way, but it will allow you to minimize mistakes and maximize results in regards to, like I always say, bringing a little calm to that entrepreneurial storm. And I hope you guys, listen in and tune into what you're all about. Check it out and purchase a copy, because I truly believe that every entrepreneur does genuinely need to start building virtual teams. The world is changing way more rapidly than we even think it is. Like, we have no idea what's going on here. We like to think that we do, but I don't think we do at all. And I think that this is the wave of the future. I think 10 years from now, 80% of companies are going to have 80% of their employees virtual. That's the way I see it. And maybe this book will help that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This book really, truly, for anyone listening with this on really ready to step into outsourcing, or even if you just want to learn about it, it's hands down, it really is the play-by-play book, like I said in the beginning, and I love what you talked about. Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, really did set the tone for that, but it left out so much. I remember reading it years ago thinking, well, how do I do this? Like, how do I actually do this? Like, I want that, but how do I get there? And you really have created it. So I just want to thank you for putting so much into this, and all the details and the steps, and I'm so excited. So the last question I have that I ask everybody that comes on the show is, if you had to start over, because that was my biggest question when I first started podcasting, is finding out what entrepreneurs would do if they had to start over, not what they've already done. So if you didn't have the resources, you didn't have the team, and you didn't have the income, what would you do to rebuild your empire? What would you some of the step-by-step processes you would do?
I don't think necessarily step-by-step, but one very, very clear activity that I was definitely late coming onto the bus with was blogging. Plain simple. I started blogging in January 2010, and I wish that I had started doing that 2 or 3 years earlier. Don't get me wrong, I'm really blessed. I have a really good business. I have great people working for me. I have amazing clients that I work with every single day, and I love what I do for a living and all the rest of it. But I believe I'd be in a totally different stratosphere as I am right now if I'd have just started blogging a couple of years earlier. I don't know. I mean, it's such a simple activity to get involved with. I just don't understand business owners that aren't doing it yet. And, I talk a lot about my P2P philosophy in business, or the people-to-people philosophy, and that people genuinely really now want to do business with other people. They don't want to do business with brands. We're so far past that. People don't buy Michael Jordan's shoes because they're Nike shoes. he could be with Adidas, he could be with freaking Reebok or someone, right? When we would still buy them because they're MJ shoes. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that people really do want to do business with other people, and blogging is just such a simple way to create that P2P relationship that I think is so important in business today. But, other than building a great virtual team, that would be what I would definitely change.
I love it. So tell everyone where they can go out and find more about you, and then also where they can pick up your new book.
Yeah, sure. Well, everything I do online is basically pumped through chrisducker.com. There's the blog, it's the podcast, and all the rest of it that's on there. But if you specifically want to look for info on the book, just virtualfreedombook.com.
And absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for taking time to do this. I know my listeners are going to love this for the content they're going to get and the steps to help them take it to the next level for staffing out their team. So again, thank you for joining, and I look forward to keeping in touch and talking with you soon.
That was awesome. It was lots of fun. Thanks very much, Kris.
And I hope you enjoyed that episode. I'd love to get your feedback here for the Lifestylepreneur podcast right in iTunes. Simply leave us a 5-star and a review letting us know what you like, who you're interested in hearing more from, and what topics you really want help with in your business that I can bring on those key experts to really fine tune and help you in your business and creating the lifestyle of your dreams. And I'll be giving shout outs, so make sure you put your name and your website address if you want me to share that with the community as well. And again, thanks for listening. I'm so excited that you found the Lifestylepreneur podcast, and I can't wait to connect with you and learn more about your business as we continue to grow this community. So again, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Lifestylepreneur podcast. Again, I'm Kris Gilbertson, and I'm committed to bringing you top training from leading lifestylepreneurs all over the world to help you break through and turn your dreams into your ideal lifestyle. And make sure to join us at www.lifestyleacademy.com to receive VIP training from specific guests I interview on the show, so that you can really easily start to implement what you've learned from listening. I know we're all busy, and sometimes we don't have time to listen to the entire podcast or take notes, because I'm always listening on the go. So I like to call it the lifestyle cliff notes to creating your ideal business and make it really simple for you. So those will be sent via the email list. Plus, I also want to connect with you personally, and being on the Lifestyle Academy mailing list is where all the magic happens. We'll host VIP trainings once a month that we can't always bring out on the podcast with even more detailed information. And I also want to connect with you personally. I want to know what's going on in your business and what you need help with, and who I can bring on to aid you in creating your ideal lifestyle. And so I'll be asking questions every once in a while that I want you to reply, and I reply back to you personally. So again, until next time, wishing you on your way to achieving all of your dreams. Talk to you soon.